Yeah, another Saturday, another beautiful morning, and y'all are here with me and Nick, looking to get more winners, looking to get more educated about Slate, and you came to the right place. How are you feeling today, Nick?
Feeling great, man. Got up early, went to the gym. Just getting ready for the live show, and big Saturday ahead of us.
See, I would have loved to get up and go for a little run or something, but instead I get up and I'm just grinding. I'm just watching the games from earlier this year of some of these first matchups between these teams because oh, I feel like there's some edges there. We'll get back on the exercise grind tomorrow, but looking at today's slate, a lot of return games, a lot of short home favorites, a lot of interesting spots. Not as many marquee top 25 matchups. We got a couple that we're going to get into. Give the chat a second to trickle in. The four games we're going to go in depth on are Duke Wake, Houston Baylor, Alabama Kentucky, Nova UConn, and then we'll talk about these, whichever ones you guys want in the chat. So get loud in the chat, say what's up. We got T agrees, all business. No hat today. You're right. The hair growing out a little bit. It's not as
No
bad.
hat for the boy today.
What up, Brian? Good to see you guys. All right, let's get right into it, Nick. Talk to me about this Duke Wake game. You've got Wake laying 2.5 at home. They haven't been favored against Duke in forever. I think it might have been 2010, 2005. What do you think?
Yeah, so line wise, some early money came in on Wake. I played them on the money line at -110. We're seeing 2.5 now. They just played 2 weeks ago, I believe, somewhere around there, and it was 7 at Duke. So it's a pretty big move. It's 9 points off from where it was just a week and a half ago. But the Wake spot is inevitable here. They're 14-0 at home this season. It's kind of a big game for the bracket. If they win this, they're pretty much in, solidified. It's a tough spot for Duke. It's their third game away from home in a row. They're already 2-0, so it sets up a little bit of a letdown spot. They don't necessarily need this game besides the ACC title race. And it's a revenge home game. And I know Wake Forest has it circled, and they beat them last year, so they know they can beat them. Forbes is definitely telling them, hey, guys, we can beat them. They were actually up by 15 last year when they played them at home, so they handled them pretty easily. The biggest thing game one for me from Wake was they were 6 for 26 from 3. But at home, they're number one in the ACC at 46.4% clip, which is, just insane, almost making half their threes at home. The second biggest thing for me at Duke, what I noticed was Mitchell and Flip combined for 15 for 20 from the field. It's the most Mark Mitchell had all season at 23. And I was at the game. I watched it, so I got a pretty good feel for his game. And, it was all just kind of like straight line drives. It was nothing crazy. I mean, he made a 3, but, we'll let him shoot threes. I think that Forbes can scout for both of them pretty well here, especially Mitchell. Flip gets his. He gets his. He's a really good player. But I don't think Mitchell's going for 20 again today. I like Wake in this spot a lot. I think they win pretty comfortably today, to be honest with you.
A couple of my favorite points you bring up there, Nick. One, Duke winning 2 road games in a row, to go in a third is really tough. I think for Duke, there's a crowd that thinks Duke is a legit title contender, a legit Final Four contender. And if that's what they are, they're 8th on KenPom, they're 21-5. If that's what they are, then this is a good spot to back them. If you're high on Duke, take them. But this line is what it is for a reason, right? It's not just because Wake has been this metrics darling and it's the revenge spot. Wake's really good. And is Duke really on another tier? Paulo Banchero is not walking through that tunnel. Jason Tatum, Zion Williamson, RJ Barrett, Filipowski and McCain are really good players, but this Duke team is not on it's shit. They just have too much talent. It's not, that's not what it is. And then you bring up this Filipowski and Mitchell combining, would you say 15 for 20 from the field last game?
Yep.
Efton Reed could not stay on the floor with foul trouble.
Yes, I agree.
Yep. And I can't say it's going to be totally different today because we've seen Efton Reed get in foul trouble a ton, and I've been active about that on Twitter. He's literally number 1 or 2 in the Power 6, sorry, Big East guys, in fouls per game, and he was 3rd in the country in the Power 6 as a freshman. So it is a problem for him, but I do think that they're just drilling it into his head. You can't foul. You have to be straight up on Filipowski. He picked up 2 chippy ones that weren't even shot contests.
For sure.
3. One was on a pass. One was on a rebound. 2 were on back. So if Reed cleans it up and stays in the floor, like Mitchell and Fieldhouse can go 50-50 in the field. You brought up last year, like Wake just ran their offense. Like, it wasn't as good of an offense, but it was a balanced performance after being good ways in the field. I totally think Wake can do that again and just have the offense run. And then you look at what Wake did in revenge spots this year. You lose at NC State and at Pitt in games where you're up 10 at halftime both games. They both came back to win and lost. NC State was a really good game. They were carried by DJ Horn there. But he had 30 and it was just fantastic.
I think something happened to your mic, by the way.
Oh, shit. Is it quiet?
There. Yeah, that's better now. Yeah.
Better?
Yeah, that's better now.
I appreciate you, Patrick. Stay loud in the chat. But yeah, point is, Wake's taking care of these revenge spots. Like, Duke's coming in. This is the biggest game in years for this program. Like, it's the first. Is it better now, Ian? People?
It's good now. Yeah, it's good now.
It's the first sellout in 7 years. Like, it's going to be rocking. Everyone's going to be in tie-dye. Like, this means so much to the program for Duke. It's your third road game in a row. And like I said, if Duke's a legit title contender, like, maybe they go here and win this game. I still don't think they are. I'm still not convinced that they are. So I think you're getting a good number here with Wake, and I totally think that they're going to have a really good chance to win this game.
Yeah, really, last thing to tie this up was because we were talking about Reed, foul troubles. I would like to see, Wake at first actually go at flip. I mean, we saw at the end of the Duke game, I think like Reed scored 2 or 3 possessions in a row on flip. Just basic, 2 dribbles, back your man down, hook shot over your shoulder and it went in. Thank you, Cole. Is my boy. So yeah, I think Wake has a lot of advantages here, inside out. So let's go Demon Deacons today, man. Have fun at the game.
Thank you. Yep, I am in Charlotte right now. Made a last-second decision to come to this game. Haven't been to a Wake game in a couple of years, so needed to come be here for Tie-Dye Nation. Moving on to Houston at Baylor, on paper the best matchup of the day. You've got this 23-3 Houston team going to play, a tough Big 12 game, but once again they're the favorite because they're pretty nasty and they're number one in KenPom. So what do you think of this one, Nick? What do you think of this line?
Yeah, so not a lot of movement on the line. I've seen it open up 2.5. It's 2.5 juice now. It's kind of trending towards 3, but I think if it gets to 3, money will come right back in on Baylor because that's at the possession number. It's a really tough game, honestly. I really think Houston is legit. I think they should be in the conversation with UConn and Purdue. They aren't, but they are legit. And they have the best defense in the country. I will say this though. On the road in Big 12, their defensive efficiency is 3rd, which, is pretty shocking, actually. And they're also 13th offensive efficiency on the road. So, they're not really, playing great offensively on the road. I think we all kind of knew that, though. The interesting thing is Houston on the road, they beat BYU and Cincinnati, both newcomers to the Big 12, and they beat Texas and OT. But they lost to Kansas, Iowa State, and TCU. So they're only 1-3 in the conference versus, teams who have been in the Big 12. So, Baylor's going to be a really tough place for them to play. They haven't played there yet. It's going to be rocking there. I trust Baylor. I think last game we faded them because it was a tough spot, from Morgantown to Provo, quick bounce around versus the BYU team. But back home, a few days off here, the spot's trending towards Baylor. The only thing I really worry about with Baylor is their turnovers because they turn over a lot. I think they're 8th in the Big 12. It kind of just sets up Houston, what they want to do in their identity. And, they probably get, easier baskets in transition instead of just half court. So that's pretty scary. I think at 2.5, I'd probably go Houston. But I don't trust them on the road enough to play them.
Couple notes. Baylor's actually only 5th in the Big 12 in turnover percentage. They've been a little bit better taking care of the ball. And then we talk about Houston traveling in the turnovers they're able to force, right, with that ball pressure. This is what they've done on the road. You forced 18 turnovers against Kansas, although Kansas kind of picked them apart. 1 by 13 had 20 assists. You only forced 8 at Cincinnati. They played a much slower pace. You only forced 11 at TCU, 12 at Iowa State, 13 at BYU. So Houston hasn't been able to fully go on the road and just obviously they've defended well, but they haven't dominated defensively. They haven't completely swarmed people. So, in a rockin' Baylor gym, with these guards, with Scott Drew, I do have faith that like Kansas was able to kind of weather the storm of Houston and have a good game plan and knock down the open threes that you will get against Houston if you take care of the ball, right? Like, I do think Baylor's offense should run well. Another thing, Iowa State came to Baylor. Baylor shot 12 of 23 from deep and won that game. So they were able to withstand Iowa State's pressure. And obviously we saw when Iowa State went to Houston, like there's levels to those two teams, but they are extremely similar. And that defense does travel. I do think Misi is the key here because when he's setting these ball screens, right, like, are they going to be able to find him on lobs? Like, he's taller than Houston's bigs, right?
For sure.
And he's super athletic. Are they going to be able to find him over the top? Is he able to play above the rim? Is he able to make plays out of a short roll? Are they going to use Jalen Bridges more as a screener, right? Because he can pop. You can do more with Bridges as a four-man. I think Baylor has some interesting elements here of how they handle the pressure, but at the end of the day, they're extremely capable of making shots. And yes, they have guys who can score off the bounce, but Baylor does move the ball well. I feel like they're a good passing team. So yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons to believe Baylor's going to be able to get this done at home. Just lost to BYU. I've had some time to rest in between. Shout out BYU, that was a big win for the program. But yeah, I never want to go against Houston, really. Like, I have to have a really good reason. I do definitely think Baylor has a really good shot. This is a stay away from me. I think it'll be a good game. But I kind of just sold you guys all on Baylor, and now I'm like, but I might need Houston anyway. The number is what it is, but I don't have much for you guys in this one. That was my take on it. I'm definitely not playing it.
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing, I started thinking about this too last night. I was looking at this game, was like, we were getting 2.5 of Kansas at Allen Fieldhouse, and now it's 2.5 at Baylor. I don't really, respect their home court like I do Kansas. But you do bring up a good point. Having a big athletic 7-footer, is a big like key to unlock a lot of things versus Houston. I'm not comparing Missy to Dickinson, but similar to Kansas, they also had a 7-footer and they smashed them. It'll be a really good game. I think it's gonna be a really close game. Definitely comes down to the wire, one possession game at the end of the game.
Yeah, this could be a game where you look for a live spot. If Houston gets out,
yeah,
then you can maybe get in on Baylor or vice versa. I don't think Houston will lay down. Well, Nick, let me ask you this about Misi. Like, Dickinson was able to pick apart Houston, have a good game because, if you can get an ISO one-on-one look in the post, like, he can finish over the top or he can make plays in the perimeter as a passer, right? Misi, it's more like, can he beat you to the spot, right? Like, if Misi sets that screen in the tag man's coming on the roll, like, can Misi just, you know what I mean, just roll to the rim so hard and be so athletic that, that he can go up and get it against like a smaller rotating, like if Sharp is coming in from the weak side and Misi's just barreling down, like that's a tougher role. That's as tough of a role man as you're going to see. That's why Misi is where he's being projected in these mocks, is because he's like a perfect, Mark Williams type, like athletic 7-foot rim runner. So I do think that that's another angle for Baylor. So interesting one. I might look for a live spot. Why not? This will be a fun game to start the day. Moving on to the other ranked matchup today, we got Alabama at Kentucky. What do you think of this line? Are you surprised? Bama's been playing really well lately.
Yeah, Bama's been playing really well. It opened up at a pick. We're seeing like 2.5 now, depending where you bet. That's probably the right line movement, I'd say. Kentucky is in a good spot, off the loss to LSU, which really was a letdown spot off the win at Auburn. So, not necessarily surprised. You tweeted about it. You liked LSU. So we were all over that spot. And now we get Alabama, off an OT win versus Florida on the road, where they haven't been good. They actually grade out at dead last in the SEC on defensive efficiency. So, I truly don't know how many stops they get today, and this is the number 1 versus number 2 tempo in the SEC. So the game's going to be flying, ton of possessions. The way that Alabama looks to attack the 3-point line, it makes it a very volatile game. They go crazy from 3. They could probably win this game. If they don't, they could get blown out. So, I don't really, mind the number at all. You don't need to like play the money line here. Worry about the number, in my opinion. Just lay the 2.5, because if they win, it's probably gonna be like 10 either way, honestly. A big thing for Alabama too is no Reitzel today. He is their leader from 3 at 44% a clip. He didn't matter last game, but they did barely win versus Florida in overtime as like 9 or 10 point favorites And they also don't have Wagi. Not a big deal. He plays 10 minutes, but he's good energy off the bench. He's a good big defender and stuff like that. Not necessarily a scorer, but no him today because of the elbow. So that's pretty big deal as well. And my last thing was I'm not sure if Kentucky's necessarily a good premier SEC team this year. They definitely had their issues. But, Alabama has played two of the better SEC teams on the road, and they've gotten blasted by 20 in each to Auburn and Tennessee. So if Kentucky's good today and they bring their A game, I think they win with margin. But just because it's such a volatile game, I played this small. But I like Kentucky a lot here today.
Real quick, a little maintenance. 54 of you guys in the stream today. We appreciate that. 55.
Hey, shout out to
this
y'all.
Is our highest we've had. Please hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. It would be big. Still awkward saying that. I'm still new to the game, but help a brother out. Y'all are here hanging out with us Saturday morning. Press that button. Also, stay active in the chat. We appreciate the chat. If you just say your takes on the games, why not? Like, I know you guys obviously care about ball. If you're in here, like Ian Benson, shout out. I'm gonna give a shout out to this guy. He's been in here every time he sniped Creighton over UConn. We'll show love. We'll show love to when you guys snipe your picks too. So back to this Bama Kentucky game. Nick, you bring up a lot of great points, and then you look at what has Bama done, what has gone wrong for Bama, in SEC play, and they've lost two SEC games. You lost by 20 on the road to Tennessee. You lost by 18 on the road to Auburn. They scored 91 and 99 points, and you didn't play defense. The pace was fast, and you didn't make enough threes to keep pace, right? Like, this is the exact blueprint of how to beat Alabama, like in SEC play, I feel like, right? Unless you're going to grind them out like Mississippi State or something, like which Mississippi State was not able to do. Mississippi State gave up 82 points to Alabama still, right? Like, it's hard to grind them out. And then Tennessee and Auburn were able to run with them and, make it hard for them to get as clean looks from three. And you can't discount not having, is it Wagi and Wrightsell, because, okay, I love Rylan Griffin. Rylan Griffin's one of my favorite players in the SEC. Great shooter. He's not a ball handler. He is not a good ball handler. Sears and Estrada, and obviously Nelson can handle the ball too, but you're taking away a ball handler from a team that plays with this pace. That makes a big difference. Mark Sears played 42 minutes against Florida. Aaron Estrada played 40 minutes. Nelson played 37 minutes. That's heavy minutes to be playing at this pace. They're lucky to have beaten Florida, in my opinion. And you take away a depth big piece, right? And Kentucky's got plenty of depth in the front court, and you take away a ball handler off the bench. All they're bringing off the bench is these bigs, right? And as like I said, I like Rylan Griffin a lot, but he is not as much of a creator off the bounce. He can a little bit, but he's a shooter, and he's a really good shooter. He's one of the best shooters in the country, in my opinion. But you're just asking a lot of Sears and Estrada. We've seen Alabama in this spot get blown out twice. This is the same thing. Kentucky is on the level of Tennessee and Auburn talent-wise. I understand they're not as organized or as much of a well-oiled machine. And then another piece of Kentucky is, look at, you lost at home to Gonzaga, Tennessee, and Florida, and then you had a nice bounce back, winning by 12 against Ole Miss, who's, Ken Palm aside and whatever. Ole Miss is still a good team. And then, Auburn on the road was just a fantastic win. So now you're back at home. You still have this bad taste in your mouth from losing those home games. I've completely swung myself to Kentucky because of the injuries, because of the fact that this is the formula to beat Alabama. And I think Kentucky's really good. Cal gets a lot of heat, but he does have a really good track record. This is a total Kentucky spot. You're getting a very cheap price. The RUP tax is so small because of Alabama just being insanely efficient on offense and being the number one offense in the country by far, is juicing this line where usually in this spot, I would feel like it would be Kentucky 4.5, right?
Yeah, even if it was 4.5, I still think there's a ton of margin here. Just amount of possessions in this game and stuff. I did see two comments about Wrightsell and Mitchell. I capped this game with Mitchell being out. Honestly, they have a ton of depth. They're really good. Mitchell's in great if he's out. Not a big deal. We saw him go on the road.
They look better without him.
Yeah,
a couple of times.
That's a debate. That's the big debate now. Is do they need him necessarily? No, I'm not saying they need him or they don't, but they did go beat Auburn without him. So I capped it without him. If he plays great, if he doesn't, not a big deal. Wrightsell's trending towards out with concussion. I think he's going to be back next week, next game, not today. So yeah, but even if Wrightsell goes, I still like Kentucky here.
Yeah, crazy how Kentucky went from, it's Mitchell, and then we got Big Z coming up, and Bradshaw's playing well to now Big Z Cal doesn't trust him. Bradshaw barely plays, and now Onyenso is like playing huge minutes. And I thought Kentucky's depth in the front court was good, but I mean,
Yeah,
I understand Bradshaw hasn't been great at times, but like I didn't think Onyenso was like that much better that he was going to eat all those minutes.
I still think, Kentucky's best days are ahead of them. I mean, so many lineup changes like you just alluded to, so many young guys, so many different lineups. That's why we've seen them be like, really good. They beat Auburn. They, really bad. They get crushed, like Tennessee and Gonzaga. But I think they started peaking. This is the time of the year where good teams, play really great, and they kind of, So yeah, I think Kentucky's best days are ahead. I think it starts today. I think they're gonna be a team to watch out for in March.
Yeah, I just talked myself into Kentucky. I'm going to add them to my card. Thank you, Nick, for that. Last one before we open it up to you guys for wherever you want to go for the next 20 to 30 minutes after this. Nova at UConn. UConn 11.5. This bounced around from 13.5 to 10 to 11. I've seen a lot of movement on this game. UConn obviously coming off the loss to Creighton. What do you think about this line? And do you think Nova, who lost by 1 in Philly? What do you think?
Yeah, so Nova is 2-0 versus UConn as a dog. I looked at the last 10 times they've played. They are 2-0. Just the one at Philly, they were +4. They lost by 1. They were kind of always in that game as well. And the last season at UConn, they were +12, I want to say. They were actually up 3 in the second half, and the most they were down all game was 10. I think everyone kind of thinks like, oh, UConn smash spot today. And, the line doesn't really reflect that. I'm seeing it open at like 11.5. It's 11.5 juice or 12 with no vig. So, I think this is a big, like, sharp money really likes Nova, and I understand that. People want to say, UConn off the loss on the road, and now they come back home. The biggest thing is for me, UConn was off the loss twice this season, and they were 1-on-1 ATS after that. They were down 7 at home to St. John's. They ended up winning by 4, no cover. Then earlier in the season at non-con, they were up 5 at halftime versus UNC, and ended up winning by 11, so they did cover that. So they're only 1-on-1 off a loss ATS, so not a big sample size here to work with. I actually went and used Torvik, because you can like change the dates, see how good teams are since certain dates. Villanova's 3-0 since February 4th, and they're actually ranked ahead of UConn since that date. If you go back a week sooner, February 4th, Nova's 4-1 since that date, and they're ranked 6th, and UConn's ranked 4th. So recency bias me says this line's too much. Actually, I think, it should be single-digit spread. I don't really trust Villanova necessarily. I can see UConn just because of how good they are coming out here and trashing them. But I do think, this game's played slow possessions, not a lot of possessions actually, slow-paced. The number feels a bit big to me. Maybe UConn does come out on fire and they, just, hungry off the loss. I saw Dan Hurley tweeting that video. So he's trying to get his team up and the crowd up and everything. So maybe, open up a good opportunity to live bet Villanova. I lean Nova, but I couldn't bet them in this spot. UConn's too good for me. It's always been UConn or pass for me. But, I do kind of lean Nova a little bit here. I think you're muted, by the way.
Word. There was a turn that went.
There you go.
Yeah, I think this number's a little rich too. I definitely don't want to go against UConn here. And then real quick, Ryan, because I don't know, 6-man energy. Obviously he's really good. He might be a top 10 pick. So I would start him.
He likes coming off the bench, honestly.
It's kind of fun, yeah.
Like him and Cal definitely had a conversation like, hey, do you want to start? And he's probably like, I like coming off the bench.
Yeah. Like Lou Williams, man. Jamal Crawford.
He's a lottery pick, so
15.5. Are you saying, I don't know if you're talking about live, Ian. I'm not seeing that.
Yeah, he wants to live bet him around like 15.
Gotcha. Okay. Here's what I'm thinking about this game. So I was at the UConn Nova game in Philly, and I had a nice seat. It was crazy. I was in awe watching that game of how much Villanova struggled to create on the perimeter off the dribble. Like, Nova was just keeping them in front. It was like a screen would come, and they would just go under the screen. Nova wouldn't take that three, and they would, try to get it to Dixon. Dixon would get doubled or struggle with the length of Johnson or Klingon. And then it'd end up at the end of the shot clock in like Burton or Bamba's hands or Hart's hands to take like a pretty well contested three. Like, ready for this? Villanova did not score a point in the half court in that game until 11 minutes in. They had
Wow.
6 points. They were down 11-0 the first 6 minutes in. Then
Yeah.
their first 6 points were all in transition. Like they were able to just off a miss, just kind of beat UConn down the floor. Like it was not against a set defense. Against a set defense, it took them 11 minutes to score. Mind you, Samson Johnson started that game and played the first 6 minutes. Klingon was still working his way in. So, and you look at like, yes, obviously the angle of UConn coming home after a loss, I get. Also just like the pace, like for UConn to separate, like they're gonna have to, shoot really well, force turnovers, and kind of speed it up, right, to cover this number. And I just think it's going to be hard to do that against Villanova. I have no faith in Villanova to score well at all.
Yeah.
That's why I'm looking at their team total under in the first half as maybe my play on this game. Marquette scored 26 in the first half against UConn, Butler 27, PC 28, Xavier 22. So if this line's at like 28.5, I'm seeing 27.5. That's the one play that I might go heavy on today. Because, Villanova's guarding UConn well on one end. That's going to kill clock and slow the pace of the game down. And then I just really don't know how Villanova scores effectively unless they're drilling threes. And just seeing that in person, like they were just locking them up, dude. Like, and that was with Klingon not even being like Lance Ware comes in to spell Dixon. And also another piece of this is because of how much Klingon and Johnson move on offense, like that gets Dixon tired. Like Dixon can't be out there the whole time, and it's a huge drop off when Lance Ware comes out there. Lance Ware is no good, right? So, like you're asking a lot of Dixon to defend in this spot, and then on offense, like he's going to get doubled hard in the post. He's not going to be able to really finish over the top of Klingon and Johnson. Like it's just hard. And then when Dixon is spaced out, like you're asking the guards to go make plays off the dribble, and I still, even though they've been playing better, I still don't really believe that much in Bamba and Hart and Burton, even though I like them as players. It's just kind of I still just don't believe they're really into playing Villanova basketball against a team of this caliber. Like Justin Moore, I don't know. Maybe I need to just refresh my perspective on Nova and feel like they are playing that much better now. But since their 5-game losing streak, what have they done? They lost at Xavier and scored 53 points. Xavier's not playing very well at all right now. You beat Providence at home, congrats. You beat Seton Hall at home, congrats. You won at Georgetown, you beat Butler at home, congrats. Like if you're even in the league of being a tournament team, you got to do that. So I still haven't turned a corner on Nova. Obviously love the spot for UConn. After a loss, like I still think they're the best team in the country, and I just don't think Villanova's going to score that well. I don't love the number of 11.5, so I'm not saying play that. But first half team total under for Villanova, 28.5 is a line that I'm absolutely looking at.
Yeah, it's going to be ugly. I mean, I definitely like that angle. I like the under as well. Actually, it just goes in with that. Actually, but yeah, Nova's only wins in Big East on the road, I believe, they beat Creighton, but the only wins outside of Creighton the first game of the year, all the way back on December 20th. Since then, they've only beat DePaul and Georgetown on the road.
Dixon had 32 in that game. He went nuts. Yeah.
It's a really, like, if you're betting UConn, or I mean, if you're betting Nova, it's really ugly, and you're kind of like on the edge of your seat the whole game. If you're betting UConn, it's definitely the sexier pick, UConn here. It's just
absolutely,
it's tough game, tough number.
All right, that's our top 4 games of the day. Moving on now to Q&A. It's up to you guys. We'll probably run for 20, 25 minutes. Hope to get through as many games as we can. We'll start off with Ryan on UNC Virginia. Virginia, 2.5-point dogs at home against Carolina. Nick, do you have a lean in this one?
Yeah, I guess kind of. History tells us this is the spot for Virginia. I did just fade Virginia Monday, and I saw how bad. I also watched them last Saturday, versus Wake Forest. They didn't impress me then either. I trust Bennett, but I don't trust this team really at all. And UNC is pretty good defensively. UNC can score for sure. It's just a really tough game to me. I think the spot's obviously UVA. But yeah, I don't like the number at all. 2.5 is not enough for me. If it was 3.5, 4 over possession, I'd look to bet them, but not at this number. Especially, Virginia's horrible at free throws. So, it's just such a grinder of a game. They're not going to get any free points. Higher ceiling for sure, UNC. So Yeah, I don't know, man. I passed this game.
I'm gonna pass this game too, but I definitely think there's value on Virginia. That's definitely my lean here. We've seen time and time again what they do defensively in this building, what they get away with. Davis and Kondo, their speed is really valuable and could help Carolina, run off misses or just be able to speed around guys in the half court and maybe draw some fouls because Virginia is very physical and handsy, and they do a great job sliding their feet and moving their chest, and they get away with a lot when they're playing at home. And Virginia, my opinion on Virginia doesn't change, honestly, after that Virginia Tech game, which might sound crazy because they scored 41 points and lost by 34, but like we've seen this with them. They've lost 6 games away from their home gym by 16 points.
Yeah.
It's what they do. It's like if teams are making shots against them and setting their defense and making it hard for them to score, like Virginia, like if Virginia's not getting stops, like they're terrible, right? But I have every reason to believe that they can get stops against Carolina. Not that it'll be easy, but like they can double Baycott. Like they're so connected. And if this comes down to Ingram and Cormac being able to hit, catch, and shoot threes, like maybe they don't shoot well today. Like I do think Carolina is obviously a better team. Like I think Carolina is the best team in the ACC still. I still think they're better than Duke. Yeah. But like, man, if we're getting a discount on this Virginia number because of what happened, I assume there might be a little discount, but this is what I would have expected the line to be anyway, right?
Yeah,
Virginia's so tough at home. I think they can defend and I think they can win.
Yeah, like I said, I wanted like 3.5, 4. Ken Palm has us at 4. So the market definitely anticipated a lot of UVA money. So they're setting it up so you take UNC. So I do think it's a kind of a trap spot for UNC here. But yeah, I'd be inclined to take them live. If maybe UNC goes up a few points, you can get UVA over the possession. I probably would be inclined to take UVA.
Nah, if Virginia's winning this game, it's going to be 6-2, 5 minutes in, and you're gonna be like, all right, I'm on the right side. or it's going to be that Virginia pick game where you're like, shoot, this team can score. Like, I don't want to be on Virginia. They're way more dusty.
Do you have any idea what the total is?
Sorry, what was that?
I'm just curious. No, I can't find it. Who cares?
All right. BYU K-State. Ian brings up Twins fan. What up, bro? I see you on Twitter. Running back fading K-State in the first half. I already played BYU -2.5. It moved to 1.5. I'm not as confident now. I would have done 2 units instead of 3, but BYU is such a better basketball team. Just straight up, like they run so much better offense. They are so much more connected. Like K-State does defend really well. And my concern, the reason I cooled off a little bit on this play is that K-State can be very physical with BYU's movement and make it hard for them to just get into their sets. But I still just think BYU's seen so much and has so many different counters and reads to all that they do. They're so good at cutting. Like their spacing is so good. Like I still feel better 100% backing BYU, and I'm in the full game instead of the first half. I understand that first half angle. I might have just a bad taste in my mouth because of that TCU bet that I missed with betting them first half against Kansas State and losing the full game. But this is just a spot where BYU beat them in that first matchup, and like K-State is just going to have to take a lot of tough shots, whether they're home or away. And yeah, I'm a little concerned that this game BYU might not be able to hit like the mid to high 70s. But I still think they can win a lower scoring game. And like I said, you're gonna be watching this game, and BYU is just going to be taking better shots. They're going to be the better basketball team. So as long as K-State isn't getting too many cheap ones, like in transition or off offensive rebounds or stupid bailouts from Perry or Kaluma, like I think BYU gets this done on the road. I think they're really good.
Yeah. The last thing I'll add to that is BYU did play them not that long ago. They were up 17 late, kind of in the second half with 8-minute mark. And that was with them missing 11 free throws in that game. This is a good free throw shooting team, so 10 for 21 is pretty rare. They were up 17, full control of the game, got tight kind of towards the end. Not really tight, but the score was tighter. I don't trust Kansas State. I think their season's kind of over. I kind of think they know that. We've seen the highs with Tang last year, but I think they have a low floor too with Tang, and I think we're kind of seeing that this year. I trust BYU here, and I lean with you, Chris. I like BYU today to get the job done.
Dean Dreamy and Brian Rogers want to know about Texas Tech UCF. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, I wish I knew what that line. I don't remember what the line is for this game. I think it's like a pick 'em now.
1.5. UCF's 1.5 point favorites.
Yeah, I mean, if Warren Washington is out for Texas Tech, I think that obviously hurts them, just because they don't have a lot of depth. And on the road versus UCF, spot is pretty much UCF off the loss at West Virginia. I watched some of that game. I mean, it was like a glorified pickup game. It was horrible. I don't know what UCF was doing. 'Cause, they're pretty good defensively, at least metric wise, but like they just did not care. And I think what's their head coach's name?
Dawkins.
Yeah, I think he's on his way out. I think this is probably his last year. But yeah, I don't know. I would lean UCF, but it's a tough spot. I like McCaslin. I like Texas Tech overall a little bit better. If Washington is in, I'd probably go Tech. If he's out, I'd probably go UCF. But I didn't have anything really on this game.
If there's no Washington, if it's confirmed no Washington, I'm definitely thinking about playing UCF.
Yeah, they have the size, like they have a big size advantage if Washington is out. Like that is for sure. They probably would dominate the glass and score efficiently down low.
Yeah, and that size advantage at home, you look at what they've done. You lose by 2 against Cincinnati. You beat Oklahoma by 11. You lose to Baylor by 8, but they were leading in most of that second half against Baylor. You beat West Virginia at home. Congrats. You lost by 5 to BYU at home, and you beat Kansas at home. So they have been really good at home, and I think it's because of that physicality and of that size and of their rebounding prowess, and then the shooting's better, and then it's like, oh, this is a decent basketball team. But, obviously losing 6 of 7, it's the Big 12, and people are going to lose games, and they're obviously one of the worst teams. So, but this is the spot again. Like this is the spot where they do win a game, right? Like Dawkins might not win another. If you look at Oklahoma State, that's a spot for Oklahoma State to finally win one. Then you go Iowa State and Houston come to town, and then you go at TCU. Like this is their chance to win a game so they don't lose out the rest of the season. Like Texas Tech, if they don't have their best big man, like let's not forget Texas Tech. The connotation of Texas Tech has been defense. That's not what this team is. This is a team that's a really good 3-point shooting team and a really good offensive team. They're not that big and they're not that great at rebounding. So they give up a lot of offensive rebounds. They're the worst defensive rebounding team in the Big 12. So I think UCF is definitely the side here. I have no faith in Texas Tech. On the road here, it's UCF or nothing for me.
Yeah, and I will say UCF, when they played Tech a few weeks ago, they did sneak in the backdoor cover. That was with Washington in for Tech and Diallo, the big 7-footer, out for UCF. And obviously Diallo's back. So, yeah, if Washington's out, I agree. I think UCF gets it done, even though it is kind of scary. They have lost 6 out of their last 7. But, show some pride. Get up for this game. You can win this game for sure.
100%. Patrick, Pitt VT, I was telling Nick about this right before the show. Total gut reaction. I like Pitt better than Virginia Tech. I just think Virginia Tech's going to win today. I'll throw it to you, Nick, before I say anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I don't trust Pitt ever. Just the way they play basketball is, it's mind-blowing to me that Capel coaches a team like this. It's just Henson, deep 3 bombs, and Carrington taking tough mid-range pull-ups. The spot is Pitt today. Their awful loss to the Wake Forest, a bad loss. A few days, come back home. Tech's obviously off that blowout win versus Forest, maybe riding a high. I like Tech a bit more, long term, even though they're not going to make the tournament. I think Pitt's kind of like on the bubble. Yeah, I don't know. It's a pass for me. I think anything can happen in this game. I kind of agree with you. Like my gut kind of says, Tech can win this game for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if Pitt wins by like 10 or something.
So I've been cold on Virginia Tech most of the year, but they 1-1 at NC State. I don't know why this game reminds me of NC State and Pitt are kind of like
big field NC State.
It's our guards, carry us and are creative off the bounce, but defensively it's not always there. And Virginia Tech is just really well coached. Like I've been critical of the fact that I don't think MJ Collins or Robbie Barron are very good, and they need like a guy like Tyler Nickel to play well to win games. But Virginia Tech's in rhythm. Just cooking Virginia, and Pitt is just a very gettable team for me, right? Like my problem with Virginia Tech is when I see a team with a lot of talent, I'm like, I just don't think they have enough. Even like FAU, I remember I played FAU heavy against Virginia Tech. Like I just think FAU is just a way better team, and like yes, Pitt has talented guards and stuff, but like Pitt was on a heater, man. Like let's not forget that Pitt lost twice to Syracuse. Like Duke and Carolina went to Duke and Carolina went to Pitt and crushed them. Like and they're the only team that hasn't been able to beat Miami in the past however long. But this is totally vibe. This is mostly vibes based, but I don't trust Pitt in the spot, even though on paper, like
for sure.
off a blowout, playing really
I
well.
definitely,
That
I
spot,
definitely think we've seen you Pitt's best. Like I think they regress here, the next few weeks.
DeRosa, what's up, bro? You know I'm a huge Notre Dame's been printing for us lately. I love this Notre Dame team. The line dropped from 8.5 to 6. But that being said, I do think Syracuse guards are going to be able to score, and I think this is a game where Notre Dame, the offense comes back down to earth a bit. They've won 3 straight, but I think their luck runs out a little bit here. I would lean Syracuse. Not going to play it though.
Yeah, I don't have anything on this one really.
Yeah, I mean, pretty just gross ACC basketball. Anyone who's saying Syracuse on the bubble, I think you're completely wrong, and it's disrespectful to the other bubble teams.
Are people saying Syracuse is on the bubble?
Yeah, dude, the bracketology people don't stop. They're like, hey, you look at their wins above bubble. I'm like, dude, Syracuse sucks. Like, let's not overthink this. Whatever. Sorry.
I would hate to see them get in. Good fade though if they do get in.
Real quick, Colorado, Utah. Nick, anything? I think Colorado's 5.5, 6.5.
Yeah, it's a late game. Let me see the line real quick because it was like 6 yesterday, and I was shocked by this line. Let me see because this is a good game.
Yeah, I'm seeing 6.5 Colorado.
It's 6.5, 7. I mean, holy cow! I mean, we got to think at Utah, they didn't play that long ago. I'm not sure the exact date, but Utah was laying 3. That's a big swing. That's a 10-point swing. I'm inclined to take Utah's spread. Ultimately, I do think Colorado wins. I do think Colorado is a good money line parlay piece. To me, this is like the biggest bubble game of the day from the standpoint of if Utah gets this win, they are kind of in my opinion. If Colorado gets this win, they're back into the talk, leaning towards it, I believe. But yeah, 7 is a lot to me. I think this is a pretty even game. I'd make Colorado 3 or 4. So I think they're good on moneyline parlay, but I would lean Utah. Ultimately, I just think it's too many points.
I haven't gone against Utah once this year. I haven't gone against Colorado once this year. These are 2 teams that I like a lot and have made me sad at times this year. But I don't like to go against Colorado at home. Like, they beat Oregon by 16 at home. They beat Oregon State by 33 at home. They beat Arizona State by 12 at home. They beat USC by 10 at home. They beat Wazoo at home by 7. Utah, sometimes I love them. Sometimes I'm like, what are we doing, guys? I still think they need Raleigh to really get back.
They haven't been healthy in forever, so kind of just sucks.
So Utah did get a nice win at UCLA. They needed it bad. They needed air. They did also beat Colorado at home by 5. I don't know. Utah, it's their 3-point shooting, man. It's like they need Madsen to hit threes, or their offense just like does not really function. And Carlson, like, I feel like he gets frustrated sometimes and starts to look for his own a little bit too much. When they're running their stuff, like, they can be really, really good. But the way Colorado pushes pace at home, the way they defend at home, they're very efficient. They get good shots, and I think Colorado is going to be able to use their athleticism and kind of get down their throat. Like Utah, in theory, like should be able to protect the rim well, like with their size and stuff. It's an uncomfortable spot. I definitely think moneyline parlay, Kevin, is a good idea to play that Colorado angle though. A&M Tennessee, Nick, you got anything on this one?
Man, it's a weird spot because A&M, kind of thrashed Tennessee not that long ago, and then last game out they lose. They lost 3 in a row. They lost at Arkansas at home. So 15-11. I don't know if they're still in the bubble or not after the Arkansas loss.
They got him in over. Lenardi has him in over Wake.
He don't watch basketball. He ain't a ball knower, man. Can't respect Lenardi. But anyways, yeah, I don't know. I hope Tennessee rolls. There's no way A&M replicates what they did from the 3-point line at home versus Tennessee. Hopefully Rick Barnes gets his guys up today. I could see Tennessee roll. I hope they roll. So I would lean Tennessee.
I did some research for this game. I am deciding if I'm going to do Tennessee full game or first half. When you look at what A&M did in that game against Tennessee, they were up double digits early and just kind of held that. Things that they did well were, get a cajillion offensive rebounds. Anderson Garcia leads the country in offensive rebounds, 4.7. He's grabbing more than Edey. Like, it's insane, like, what that guy does. But A&M's gross, man, and it gets even. Like, they want to be gross, but it gets a little too gross on the road, right? Like at home, it's like everyone's down low. Like give Radford or Taylor a ball screen. Like let him take. Radford was getting to the rim a lot against Tennessee. Like he was getting really good shots. Like he went off, and Taylor went off too. Like, but that doesn't work as well on the road, right? You're really relying on the offensive rebounds at home because the shot's not going to be there, and it's not going to be as easy to get to the rim on the road because of what defenders can do get away with a little bit more physicality, and that Tennessee's defense is going to be set more because they're going to be scoring more because they're at home. So with Texas A&M, it's a team that, this is why they're in an interesting bubble spot. It's because they can beat really good teams, and then they lose a lot and don't look good sometimes when they lose. And I just think this is a spot where Tennessee can absolutely punish them. Like Tennessee has some really good wins at home this year. Like throw away that South Carolina game, and they've been fantastic at home this year. And then you look at what Wade Taylor does in games they win and lose. They go at Auburn, he scores 8 points. They go at Bama, he scores 18, which sounds like a good game, but for him it's not. And then they host Kentucky, he scores 31. They host Bama, they host Tennessee, he scores 31. So like if they don't get this huge performance from Wade Taylor and Tyrese Radford, like they're gross and they need the offensive rebounds. But like a Rick Barnes team, like to a team that just kicked their ass, like at home, I trust them to rebound. I trust the offense to look better. Everyone around Connect seems to play better when they're at home. And A&M's not that good defensively. They're just frantic. So sometimes they look like they're good defensively because they can force turnovers and run. But I really think Tennessee can, be physical on defense. They can switch stuff, keep Radford and Taylor in front, make them take tough shots. I think I'm just deciding Tennessee first half or full game. I definitely think Tennessee rolls.
Yeah, I for sure agree. I think matchup-wise, like Tennessee, matches up like really well with them. They can take away rebounds and everything like that. They can be just as physical with them. I think they cover. Like I agree with you. I also think Texas A&M team total under is a good route as well. Just because I don't know what it's set at, but it's probably like mid to high 60s, I'd say. Can't pull at 66. I'd probably go under that. The biggest thing for me was they were hot from three that game one. There's no way they replicate down the road again. And I think Tennessee shows up on the glass.
Let's do a couple more. Ian, it's that Villanova first half team total under. I'm waiting on it because I can get 27.5 at a way better price than I can get 28.5. But I feel like I should just pay up and get the 28.5. It was minus 130 on DraftKings, so I'm just kind of waiting to see. But somewhere or another, I'm going to get in on Villanova's first half team total under. If I get the number I like, I'm going to go huge on it. If not, I'm going to keep it under control. But right now, all I have locked in is BYU, and I'm going to add Tennessee. I'm going to add Kentucky, and I'm thinking about adding Virginia. So yeah, what else? Mississippi State LSU. This one's gross, man. I don't even have much to say. Like I was on LSU against Kentucky. In practice, I was on LSU. I tweeted they were going to win or cover, but I didn't take them. But I don't trust LSU either. It's a letdown spot. Mississippi State, I think, is a better team, and if they want to make the tournament, this is a spot for them that they kind of have to get. I think Mississippi State can counter Baker inside, which is the toughest guy to stop on LSU. And yeah, I think this is a good sell spot for LSU for sure. I don't even know what the line is, but whatever, I would take Mississippi State over LSU no matter what.
Do you think so? At the end of that game, when they beat Kentucky, they were like saying how LSU's on the bubble, and they're not close to the bubble right now.
The announcers don't know anything. They're just, dude. This. All right, go ahead, and then I have something.
So they're underdogs today. Ken has them as 2. But after today, they have an easy schedule, man. Georgia, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, Missouri. They're all favored to win in all of them. So they win out. So say they win today, they win out. That is 3. That's 7 games in a row they've won. They would be 21-12. No. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. They'd be 19-12. You think they're in? They win out.
It'd be close. I hate to
say State would be a big one. Kentucky's a big one. They beat South Carolina, who as of right now is a big one. They're playing good. I still don't trust LSU. Like I don't like Matt McMahon. But ever since I started dissing him on the show, bro, they haven't been losing. But I know today if I'm like, all right, LSU, they're gonna get smacked. So like I'm not betting this game. But it's crazy how they've been like hot all of a sudden.
Yeah, he's got to be a fan of the show. He's got to be catching up on Sundays.
Bro, he's definitely like, yo, look at this dude. Look what he's saying about you on me. And now they're
bulletin board material. Bulletin board material. Real quick about like announcers. they're calling these games, right? Because they have leagues that they call. Like there's ACC guys, Big 12 guys. They go, Big 10, like, man, there's no easy games in the Big 10. Man, there's no easy games in the Pac-12. Man, there's no easy games in the ACC. It's like, all right, like let's just. People need to understand that yes, these are all Division I college basketball players trying their best. Like it's not a walk in the park unless you're playing DePaul, but like it's relatively speaking, man. Like the worst game in the Big East is DePaul. The next best is Georgetown. The next is what? Xavier. Like that's not an easy game. Like then you look at the SEC, it's like Missouri is pretty easy. Vanderbilt's pretty easy. But then people were like, oh, Missouri 0-13 in their league, right? 8-8 to the season. They gave Tennessee a good amount. Oh, like, no easy games in the SEC. It's like, dude, that is the easy game in the SEC. Like,
for sure.
It drives me crazy, like this kind of stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it drives me crazy too.
We didn't talk about South Carolina Ole Miss. I lean Ole Miss for sure. I think there's still time to, take advantage of. I know South Carolina doesn't want to lose a third in a row here, but I still think Ole Miss is solid. Like they've lost 4 out of 5. Like both teams are pretty desperate here. It's going to be close. So I'm not saying bet it or lay those points with Ole Miss, but I definitely think if I had to pick a side, I'm thinking Ole Miss.
I'm with you. I lean Ole Miss, but they are kind of skidding. They're 1-4 their last 5. South Carolina's lost back-to-back games. I feel like South Carolina is kind of like starting to regress a little bit, but at the same time, Ole Miss is starting to regress too. So it's a really tough game. I'd lean Ole Miss, but let me ask you this, Chris, since we don't have any more questions. This is it. So the other day you bet Notre Dame, right, because of Shrewsbury like overpaying?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a sicko game. But I don't even know who the hell the interim is for DePaul. But in theory, Ed Cooley is a much better coach. And they've won a Big East game. They did beat DePaul earlier this season.
What's the
line?
line?
Would you trust them today, laying points on the road?
What's the line?
I think it was 2.5 yesterday. It might have gone up.
Oh
I think money actually came in on Georgetown.
That might be hammer time for Georgetown.
I don't know what it's at now.
4.5.
It's 4.5.
Dude, DePaul is
4.5.
Dude, we might need to take Georgetown.
We might need to take but I was thinking like Shrewsbury overpaying, like that's a great angle. Like there's a massive edge there. And this is the same thing. Cooley is a massive edge over this DePaul intern.
Yeah, dude.
Like it's so bad, but like look at DePaul, bro. Like they're so bad.
And they're gonna get
insanely bad.
Georgetown and Cooley will get destroyed if they lose to this joke of a DePaul team. Like all they have hanging for them this season. Like they haven't beaten anyone other than DePaul. Like, and if you split with DePaul, like
they lose to DePaul, you can say for sure this season was worse than last season's with Ewing. Like
that's facts, dude.
Like no, like that's for sure facts. Yeah. Bro, they're 8-18. Last year they were 7-25, but at least they beat Butler. Like at least they won a different Big East. Like at least they beat someone else outside of DePaul.
Dude, we're hammering Georgetown. Dude, DePaul. You know what? I was at the UConn DePaul game with my buddy, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at them. It's like they're lining up. It's starting lineups. There's no one in Wintrust, right? And of course, Kevin, good luck today. We're at Wintrust. No one's there. And I'm looking at DePaul I'm looking at UConn in the huddle, right? Uh-huh. They got Marquette coming up this weekend. They haven't lost in forever. They're coming to play at DePaul. Like I see them hyping each other up. And then I'm looking at DePaul's huddle and I'm like, legitimately, what are they saying? What are they saying? You're about to get fucking destroyed by UConn. Like, are you even like, is there even a tiny bit of belief that we can be competitive? Like, I feel like that's a bigger discrepancy between a 16 seed and a 1. A 16 seed is fired up. Like, we can hang with these guys, right? DePaul is like another game. Like, there's no way you can. Like, Georgetown, obviously it's been a tough season. There's no way that they're going into a home game against a Seton Hall or a Butler. Like, they think they can win that game. They totally can't, right? But, like, DePaul has to be so down in the dumps. The only top 300 opponent they beat in this year is Louisville. Okay, like they are so bad. They're getting crushed by everyone. And Georgetown needs this.
I'm not like making a case for Georgetown really, but I am saying like on the road they lost Providence by 8. They lost Seton Hall by 6. They just lost to St. John's by 5. Like they've been competitive. Like they're trying. So they're trying to build the program, trying to be better.
Absolutely.
DePaul is just done. Like they lost by 34, 11, 30 something, 30 again. 25, 30 again. Like this team's like got no life. They're just getting blown out left and right. Like,
Yeah.
it's ugly. It's sicko. You got to be a little crazy to take Georgetown here, but I would definitely take Georgetown.
Well, Ken Palm has this line at 3 because honestly, I don't know why. Georgetown, like, has
it was
like
6 at home when they didn't
before,
cover, but they won still.
it was close. But they had their coach, and I'm pretty sure they were healthier. Didn't they?
It was early Big East. It was 4 games into the Big East.
Jalen Terry didn't play against Marquette, who's one of DePaul's functioning human beings.
I do think Terry is back. I think they have their full team today. But, I mean, still, I feel like all those players are pretty indispensable.
Yeah, they're in. They're in. Him and Ramey, the other guy who was questionable. Yeah. It's so gross, too, but I absolutely think that's a digestible number. And I guess the flip side of it, of Georgetown, like, looking at this, we absolutely cannot lose. DePaul is looking at it like, we're not winning a game the rest of the season if it's not this game.
This has got to be like Georgetown.
It's gonna be. They're playing in an empty gym, though, man. Like I'm telling you, it's like 20 empty gym.
It's a big gym too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's huge.
20,000. Oh my god. Oh, that's Georgetown. I lied. I mean, DePaul's probably. Yeah, Wintrust 10,000. Yeah.
Dude, Tyler Kulik was like a 10-year-old kid playing on 2K on rookie mode against DePaul. He was just trying to
minutes. How many minutes did he end up with? He had like 18 assists, and then they just were like, all right.
26 minutes.
Chill out.
He didn't take a 2-pointer the entire
game. 26 minutes, 18 assists. If he played the full 40, he probably could have gone 30 assists. Crazy, bro.
Nah, dude. Georgetown is going to have – it's going to be their – like – it's such a, there's no, I'm counteracting myself. There have been no like easy games for Georgetown, right? Like the spots, like the Butlers, the Creightons, or no, I don't know why I say Creighton. The Butlers, the Seton Halls, the Xaviers, the St. John's, the Providence, that tier, like they're a tier behind that, but they've been there. DePaul is, there's like,
bro, let me tell you one thing, and this will make you want to bet Georgetown even more. I mean, this is crazy. I'm actually talking myself into Georgetown. You know where DePaul is ranked? Like, think about this. DePaul is ranked 306 in Ken Palm. They're sandwiched in between Idaho and Western Michigan. So, in theory, say Georgetown's going on the road and they're playing Western Michigan or Idaho, and they're laying 4. We would take Georgetown, surely, right?
Absolutely.
Like, it's just the name, DePaul, they're Big East. Like, there's something there, but like, dude, they are horrible.
Dude, no, there's nothing there. My question is,
my old school is ahead of DePaul right now.
How much is this line set by the fact that they only lost by 3 when they went to Georgetown? Like, let's say Georgetown beat them by 15 in DC.
But I think that like speaks volumes on DePaul. Like that line was 6 and now it's 4 on the road. Like DePaul's gotten way worse. I think Georgetown's gotten
that's true.
Maybe a little better, at least the same. I don't know.
Yeah, we're taking Georgetown. They've also changed some. Ish Massoud is playing less. I know he's a deke. I don't mean to be a hater, but they're still trying to develop some of these young guys like Fielder and Brumbaugh and obviously Epps. Styles can come back next year. So, I mean, they have at least high major players on Georgetown. I don't know anything about DePaul. Like last year, it's like, oh, Umoja Gibson from Oklahoma, like Javen Johnson's a bucket. Like they had a couple of players. Like they have. No, actually, you know what? What is it? Churchill Bass. He's not bad. He's okay. But man, DePaul is so bad. All right, we're coming up on an hour here. Thank you guys for joining us. Wish everyone the best of luck today. Can always rewind if you want to hear what we had to say about a game. We'll try and get another stream going before next Saturday. No promises, but what up, DeRosa? Tell me in the chat real quick before we leave. You have 30 seconds to put something in about why Georgetown's going to win. Yeah, I know Massoud hasn't been starting. I tuned in because St. John's almost lost that game. I had to see what happened. But thank you, Twins fan. Thank you all you guys, all the regulars. We appreciate y'all. Good luck to everyone today. That's Turnstone Capper, Nick Reilly. You can find him on Twitter. You guys can find me, OdjHoops. Hoya's going to kill him on the glass. And after all this, thank you, Brian. After all this, we left you with Georgetown DePaul. Like, I know y'all are going to be tuned in now. And,
Hoya Saxa.
Hoya Saxa. Peace, everyone.
Later, Ian. See you guys.